Hi there, everyone. My name is Luke, and today we will be checking out the HMS Euthyphro by Haffel. In this video, it is my goal to cover some recommendations, prefaces, tips, important details, things to look out for, important and interesting facts about this ship, some very big details you'll need to know before building. This is the only existing video on this ship. I mean, that I know of. So I'm glad I'm making it. Hopefully, whoever stumbles upon this in their deep journey, because it's a very, I don't want to say niche, but not many people are trembling to build their HMS Euthyphro. But whoever does stumble upon this video, anybody interested in building this ship, it is here for you now, hopefully. This is going to be helpful to anybody who really needs it. And yeah, I'm glad to make it because it is a very complicated building process that I really wanted to make a video on for anybody interested in building this beautiful model in the future. So this is by Haffel on Rebrickable. The instructions are roughly 15 United States dollars. They're in euro when you purchase them. It's 4,118 pieces. Big, very, very big. So I would seriously recommend setting aside, I'd say, $500 if you're really interested in getting the parts and the instructions, maybe some minifigures, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Yeah, so here, let's get right into it. This is the Euthyphro. It's huge. It's beautiful. The level of detail, and it's hard to see from camera, but the level of detail put into this ship is absolutely incredible. And I really wanted to, let's look at the stern here, because that's really one of the most beautiful aspects of it. I really wanted to make this video to showcase how amazing this build is and to explain like the process behind building it and the reason it's so many parts, why it is so complicated. Because there's a lot to it. And so I think it's very important that this video is made. So I'm going to start with some prefaces. This is a very complex build. This is not a beginner set by any means, because it is not a Lego set. The instructions are nowhere near Lego accuracy, but that is such a thing with all cases of Lego Brickable mocks or mocks of any sort. And it has not been like really fact checked by anybody other than the creator Haffel. So it is complicated, and there will be some like roadblocks as you're building it. And my first recommendation for you is, when you purchase the instructions, really comb through, look for some of the mistakes that are there, and always have an open mind about pieces that you're using. Look 2 steps ahead to see if everything makes sense. And sometimes you won't even see the parts that you need to use. So be very vigilant. So the first recommendation is be an experienced Lego builder. You are going to need to have a lot of background info on how Lego works, stability and function of bricks. And yeah, you're going to have to do your own modifications. So that brings me to my second preface and recommendation, is to have an extensive collection beforehand so that you can make those modifications on the spot or find pieces that you may be missing when you bought all the parts. And if you're trying to do this by your own collection, that's great too. So you should be fine there. But have a good enough collection so that you can stabilize where you see fit and make changes so that this really works for you, because it's it's just such a beautiful model, and it'd be a shame if things didn't work out if there were no parts for you to use when push came to shove and you needed to repair something on the ship or something didn't work in the instructions, because a lot of things won't work. And I'm going to go from bow to stern, covering each of the things, any recommendations that I've made that I can make with this build. But let's keep going with the prefaces. So I wanted to make this video before I rig the ship, because obviously the ship does not come with rigging or sails like a Lego model would, or a actual model ship. So it is completely ropeless. It's got no strings. That I'm gonna do hopefully pretty soon after making this video, and I'll make a separate video on that with how I rigged it. So that's the next thing. You should have some sailboat knowledge. Obviously you're only gonna buy a $500 Lego ship if you are really into Legos and ships of the line of the 18th century. But yeah, be into it, love it, because it's a very long process. This took me several months to get all the parts, and then several more months to actually build it. And I'd say I'm a pretty good builder. I can make stuff relatively quickly. This took a very long time. So set aside a couple months. Don't make this something that you're gonna like let it collect dust somewhere, because it requires a lot of attention, a lot of time. So have some time set aside each weekend, but like I'm a junior in high school, so obviously I've got a lot going on, but I trust that when you're building this, you've got that figured out. So yeah, let's go, I guess, we'll go through my recommendations, and if I come up with any other prefaces. Halffull has this thing on his Rubricable. He's got a list of all his things. You can find his Instagram, see some nice pictures. I think it's got the dimensions on the Instagram. If you're interested in that, I can include that in this video if I get a ruler on me at any point. So don't buy the cannons. I mean, it's flat out, do not buy 50 of the cannons that he has pre-built. You're going to find that when you purchase the instructions, it comes with the instructions, of course, online. It's downloadable, very easy to access from the Rubricable page on my phone. Use it while you're building it, very easy. And it's going to come with, in the instructions, is going to be the parts list for these cannons that you can replicate. It says replicate 50 times and put them throughout the ship. Don't do that. You cannot put them, as I'll show when I take out the decks, because the decks are removable. Do not buy those cannons, because they do not fit in 90% of the places on the ship. All like this. So there's 50 gun ports. They do not fit in probably more than 30 of them. So avoid buying those 50 guns, and I'll explain why later. And I'll explain what possible solutions I'm going to look into when I actually want to do that, because I do want to have this be like a gunned ship with sails and rigging. So I'm going to do that in a third video, hopefully. But this can be very late in the future, because I'm going to have to design new guns for this. So it's also going to come with the stud.io file, the Bricklink, stud.io 3D model, which is amazing. If you want to look into like how this thing is scaled to a minifig, because it's huge. So let me take one of my soldiers here that I bought from Lego. It is really big compared to said minifigure, right? But I don't think it's minifigure scale. It's close. It's very close, but that doesn't matter. But look at the stud.io file. If you have those capabilities, look into it. Look at the gun, and when you build it, you'll see how the gun does not fit. So I've made some modifications to the ship too. I'll show that I changed the steering wheel, but I'll get to that when I go from bow to stern. Minifigures look like that on the ship. It's pretty big. It's really big. Just I don't know if it's minifigure scale, because these ships were very large in their heyday, and this was supposed to be a 50 gun 4th rate, so it was going to be a lot bigger. So let's go from bow to stern. I'll explain some things. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so at the bow, you have your first mast, the bow mast, which has one place for you to put a sail. It's got a crossbeam for the sail, and then a little bar down for some rigging. one of the things I'm going to have to figure out is how I'm going to get some string from maybe from here to here to that piece, whatnot. The first modification I made is right up here. I included this figurehead. He does not come with the set. I did this with my own parts. I printed out this Union Jack on a white piece of paper and shoved it into his armholes. And this was I flipped around a C-3PO torso to make that work. So you don't really see that, hopefully, but it is there. And I modified, I guess you could say, on a 1x2 brick with studs on one side to fit his leg holes right there. So he fits right there perfectly. So as a modification you can make if you want a figurehead. It looks just like that without one, which is fine if you don't want to do that, and that's something you can change very late. I did that while I was building, so I didn't have to think about it later, but you can do that at any point. At the bow, it's got this really nice curvature that's super accurate to an actual ship at the line. This is not based on an actual ship. And then I guess brings us to my first pointer is, if you are not into breaking Lego rules or doing stuff illegally with Lego bricks, you're not going to like this set. This is a very illegal set. So the first illegal thing I did was I cut these Lego piping pieces to fit the curvature of the bow. And I also cut these ones to shape around the sides. They are not cut in the instructions. They don't make sense in the instructions. You're gonna have to cut them. They like kind of phase through this piece here. So there's also a lot of phasing. You're gonna need to modify a few things. Like in these, so he uses hinge pieces, of course, to make this curvature. It is connected nowhere else but the bottom. There is no stability in this whatsoever. It is very easy for these things to just pop right off. I also had to modify these navy blue side stripes. Did not work at the connection point that is listed in the instructions. I needed to modify it with a hinge piece to get it to fit right there. It is at an angle, but it makes the bow look really beautiful. Bad lighting, but it just loved the way that it all comes together. I think it fits really well. If you're into ships in the line, you know that looks very accurate. No room for really any bow chasers. You could put them. So I have these two mock cannons that I made. These are not the cannons that come included. I like the way they look. I think they look very clean. I would recommend brick-built cannons. I think the regular Lego cannons are too big, and I don't know if they make those anymore. Whatever. While we're up here, it does not come with anchors. If you wanted anchors, it doesn't come with them in the instructions. I don't even know where to put them. I have these guys made up, and I don't know what to do with them. I guess right there, but that kind of blocks the gun port. I'll have to figure that out later, probably in my next video on this ship if I make one. That'll be in it too, with like rigging and sails. And then you have your first netting point where you can attach some strings to the, we'll call it like a watchtower, the crow's nest, but it's not really. You can tie strings from here to here, create netting. There's ways to do that I don't know yet. And then you're gonna have your first mast. I think, I could be wrong. Is this the foremast? Because I think that's the main and that's the mizzen, but I don't know. Again, string, lots of string can be attached, and sails can be put in this space here. Those are your jibs. I don't know my lingo. I should touch up on that, but whatever. That's not important. It's, as you can see, it is leaning forward a lot. So, because the Technic rod that you use cannot support its own weight at all. So I would rigging would be recommended immediately, for sure. Rig it if you can, very quickly so that these are stable. But I wanted to make this video, so I've been leaving it like this for a while. These ugly yellow pieces, so I bought from Lego directly. I did not buy from Bricklink, which may seem stupid, but it actually ended up being very cheap to purchase from Lego. That's why it only ended up being $500, and it was going to be over $2,000 to get all the pieces from Bricklink, which was not what I was looking for, because I bought this with my own money. As a junior in high school, this was not what I was looking for, using my small amount of money from summer jobs and tips from coaching people on how to swim. So I wasn't making enough to really get all the right parts and right colors from Bricklink. Here we are with some yellow pieces sticking out very prominently in this video, but it doesn't look that bad because the ship's color scheme is black and yellow anyway, so that's fine. So yeah, stabilize the mast with some string as soon as you can, if you can at any point, because that's going to be very helpful to you. The deck. It's annoying to get on. You're going to have to take some pieces out, as I'll show when I try to put it back on when we explore the lower decks of the ship. And then the first reason why you don't buy cannons for this is right here. As you can see, the gun port here falls well below the deck, and there is no place for you to put a gun at all. In fact, there is a tile blocking where you would put a gun, even if you could put it under this deck. You can't. Another reminder is the ship is not stable at all. It is terribly unstable. One push at any given point will tear this thing apart, and it is made with like a bunch of one-stud connections, illegal building techniques, and whatnot that make it really unstable, but we'll get to that in a sec too. Carrying it, you're gonna have things fall, maybe, we'll see, I don't know. Going back, you have your next netting point, a little ladder, very nice detailing, looks beautiful. These amazing little like hatches, you call them like lights, I don't know. In the deck, these gun ports are probably the best on the ship because they are very easily accessible, but there's only 3 of them that you can really easily access. This 4th one is going to be tough to access because there's a beautiful spiral staircase, if you can see it. My God. Hold on. I don't know how to get... Yeah, okay. That's probably the best angle for you to see it. There's this beautiful spiral staircase that leads up to the top deck where the steering wheel and skylight are for the captain's quarters in this beautiful stern right here. So the shaping on this ship is beautiful, but again, that comes at a cost of its stability. It is not stable. I'm going to say this all the time in this. So we're going to start in the back where it's easiest to access the underdecks. Another modification I made was, of course, the steering wheel, and then also these lamps here are my own kind of builds. You're going to be cutting tubing for the gold strips around. Another modification, I just added this lamp here. I thought it looked good. Don't really, it's not a big deal. You got a good look at that spiral staircase, and then these captain's quarters. Some nice letters, a little statue there. And that kind of like shows you how the stern doesn't really line up with, like, you're not getting any interior light in this. It's just kind of, right, like the back of it's just for show. And then you have the actual captain's quarters there. There's no, like, these side windows don't actually go, but that's pretty typical. It looks really nice. And this is a semi-spacious stern captain's cabin, so which has immediate direct access through the door to the main deck, which is nice. So that's a good little detail that you can have there to put like a captain minifigure that I've got over there. So I collected a bunch of minifigures for this, around 30, to see if I could like fill up the crew spaces. I don't know if I will because it's unstable. I don't know if I want to put minifigures on it. I'm going to try and rig it first, but that's that. We'll cross that bridge. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off, if I can. I'm going to take off with one hand. We'll see. okay. So this second piece is relatively easy to remove compared to the front one, which we'll get to cross that bridge. So one of the things that is important to think about when building is that this middle deck here doesn't actually have its own deck, because that's obviously not tall enough to fit minifigure. That's definitely not tall enough. So that's also why you should not buy the 50 of the cannons in your first go around when you first buy the parts, because the second deck doesn't have any place for you to put them. You can, I guess, put platforms, but this back one here, the last cannon on the second deck, there is literally nowhere you can put a gun unless you were to put it outside the window, which is my plan. I will show if I can make that happen. I will show that if I can. Yeah, the captain's also the top one, top last on the third deck on the quarter is in the captain's quarters safely, and the statue's in front of it. So I don't know if that'll work. So just be mindful there. The bottom deck, though, is nice and spacious. It's got these beams on top of it that you would think stabilize it, but they really don't. But yeah, that's a nice, spacious underside deck, which I will show in a second. But as soon as you reach this point here, you cannot go further back, which is why these last two cannons, these last two cannons, there's nothing you can do besides put cannons on the outside and not actually have them on the inside, which is why this kind of thing wouldn't work. Having a back to it would not work. Yeah, you cannot put them right here. You can't put them right here. You can put them here, maybe not here, but like, you get what I'm saying there. Yeah, the interior is not great because there's nothing instructed for you to put in there in the instructions. You don't buy parts for details. I have them. That's also part of why you should have an extensive collection. So when you're doing the decks, the inner sides here, it's really complicated. Recommend that you be very well educated on your Lego stuff, because it is tough to get around this. But I have faith in you guys, whoever's building this, because this is a very hard to find build. So you're obviously into Legos and very interested in this if you have gotten the instructions and if you have purchased the parts. Very proud of you guys. I think you can do it. But like, really, I recommend being very strong in your Lego abilities, because it is tough. This is no easy feat here. So I'm going to take off the bow deck to reveal the interior as a whole. And it is really nice. Very spacious. A lot of room for details. They just don't exist. You need to do that yourself. The main mast, as you can see, is nice and wobbly, so that'll probably come off if it wasn't well stabilized in the structure of the ship. There's a Technic layer to help stabilize, but since this uses like what he calls his stepping technique, it's actually off-put bricks by like a half, so you really cannot connect them in many ways unless you use the tile with like one stud. It's a very helpful piece in this build. But yeah, you're going to be moving by halves, so you cannot stabilize it easily. Again, it's not stable at all. This is not a play build. This is a display build, and you're probably going to break it as you build it, and you're probably going to need to break things as you build it, which is disappointing, but that's what has to happen. So that's all the access to the interior that you have. I actually think this is a good amount, considering this is a ship and you don't really want to see the interior. Again, you're not really going to play with it that much. I'm assuming you're a pretty relatively old guy or girl who wants to build this, and that you don't need to play with it. If you do really need to play with it, I would look elsewhere. But it's a beautiful looking model. Okay, so the illegality pieces, there's a lot of parts to this that are not legal building techniques. And there's a lot of compromises you're going to have to make if you order from Lego and not Bricklink, because some of the parts that from Lego don't come in certain colors, or they don't even have the piece altogether, or they only have a small quantity of those pieces. So that's why I had to get like yellow, whatever those things are, to make that work, even though it looks stupid. I'm probably going to change that in the future when I get access to more parts. This gold stern here is beautiful. It is illegal. You have to cut the pipes. You have to make a lot of one stud connections that just basically end up being you forcing the pieces to work, which isn't great, but it's, again, how it has to go. Some things won't look like they do in the instructions. That's fine too, because it ends up all coming together. These ladders here, completely illegal. The parts of the back that lead up to the stern, right here, the keel is fine. That in the instructions, it's illegal. You can modify it to make it work, and then bending the stern over and then connecting these hinges to stabilize it, completely illegal. Some of the parts, again, are only on one stud points. I could guarantee you I could rip this entire section of the build out because it is only connected by like 2 studs, the entire side of it. So don't mess with it that much. If you have, I don't know, small children or like a dog, keep this somewhere high up, somewhere that's not prone to like falling over, because this thing will fall with it and it'll shatter and you won't know what to do with it because it's 4,000 pieces, all of which would happily shatter on you. I consider myself lucky that nothing bad has happened to this ship for as long as I've had it. So yeah, in the future, I plan on really decorating the interior, trying to make it interesting, just to spice it up a little bit. These minifigures that I've got here, I recommend you collect your own, just so that you can have like a nice sense of individualism in the ship. Anchors, you got to do it yourself, sadly. I have not yet solved that problem at all on my own, which is sad but true. It's huge. This is a really large model. It's beautiful too. If you're really into ships, it looks the best. It's the best, most reasonably priced. Haffel has some other beautiful creations. I would recommend checking out his Rubricable page, because if you're into Legos, you have a lot of money to blow, and you've got space, time, and again, an extensive parts collection. Not only is this model perfect for you, but like he's got like a Silent Mary build, which is just so huge. It's like 13,000 pieces. So it probably dwarfs this thing. And this thing is huge. It's 4,000 parts. This is the largest thing I've ever built. This is, which is ridiculous because it's a mock. I've never in a million years would you tell me that a mock from Rubricable would be the #1 largest thing in my collection. Never. You could never tell me that. But now here it is. And it's beautiful. I love it. I'm into naval engineering. I'm into ships. And that's honestly, that's in my goals for my future. That's what I'm looking to do in college and life. And this is just perfect. It's so amazing. The details that Haffel puts into it, and I haven't even added my own details. I really recommend this model for any major ship nerds out there and people who are into this era of shipbuilding. So I'm going to put the top back on. I'm going to show you how annoying and long the process is. So the first thing I do when I'm putting this part of the deck, the frontmost removable deck, is I'm going to remove these little parts here. Just because it gets caught on them usually. And then I'll put them back on once the deck is in place. So that's something I always do. I've made countless modifications to it to make it more legal or actually possible. So that's a very annoying piece. Some things are just impossible if you were to just do them. Oh, okay. See, so I already broke it. Great. Oh, I broke it even more. I can't do this with one hand. I really can't. I shouldn't have done that. Stupid of me. Okay, so I'm going to put the camera down. You can look at this deck for like 2 seconds. That's so terrible. Oh my god. That's the worst that's ever broken. Oh god. That's horrendous, man. That's horrendous. So yeah, I completely destroyed it. That's really bad. So yeah, this is exemplary. This is what can happen. It's really sad, but it just does. That's just a problem that exists. So yeah, really be very careful at all times when trying to make this thing work and trying to put parts in or trying to take the deck on and off, or whenever you're building it. Again, keep it away from anything that you would think would break it at any point, because if you think it's going to break it, it probably will, because this thing is very easy to break. Gonna fix that. So here it is. I put the deck back on. It's a very terrible process. I really don't like it. I'm gonna put this piece back on here. I don't care how well you can see it. So yeah, problems really do exist. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it and say that this is a simple model. It's really not. I would recommend, again, a lot of building experience, previous experience. Things aren't gonna go as you want them to. So have an extensive collection to make sure that if something doesn't go your way, you are at least a little bit ready for it. Because there's a lot going on in this thing too. It's not like everything will come clean and perfect, because it's not a Lego set. It is not designed with the user in mind. It's designed with the results of how good it will look once it is built. And it looks really good. So that's really all I've got for you in this. I will, of course, be looking at the comments if there are any on this video. Just if you have any questions, comments, if you have built it and you want to share some photos of yours and the modifications you've made, if any, please throw those in the comments. I'd love to see them. If you have any like recommendations, again, right, like questions, please ask away. I'd be happy to make videos specifically on questions. This is not going to get much attention. This is a very small thing, but this is the only video that exists on this ship, and I'm very happy to make it, and I'm very happy to go above and beyond for anybody who's interested in making this, because I love this ship. It is an amazing it's been an amazing process. I'm happy to have it finished. It looks beautiful. I think it's the best looking thing I've ever built. And I think it's the best looking ship that exists in Lego, you know, mock or otherwise. It definitely blows any other ships out of the water. And if you're like interested in the Jack Sparrow's pirate ship and you're really into pirate ships and you don't need the Black Pearl, go with this. It's $120 difference for double the pieces and double the detail. And this thing looks beautiful. So if you're really like into ships of this time period or like Pirates of the Caribbean, and you don't want to spend so much money on the Black Pearl, which is pretty small compared to this thing, get this. It's 100% accurate to anything that exists in the time period. If you look at the overhead, it's identical to the mapping of the actual ships of the line of the time. Like the detail of the stepping techniques, the curvature in the hull to make it like point upwards and inwards, and then also how it like slowly gets smaller until you get to the large stern. It's so amazing, the accuracy put into this thing. So I highly recommend it. I also recommend that you be a very experienced builder building it. So hopefully this is helpful for anybody buying the instructions. And I'm sorry it's such a long video, but there was a lot to talk about. Again, any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section. Make sure to like the video to make this more popular, because I really want more people to have this as a display piece sitting so that they can, go to sleep looking at such a beautiful model. You feel really accomplished too building such a thing, because it is really complicated. So I would, hats off to anybody who's done it in the past, who's figured it out on their own. And hopefully this is helpful to any future builders who want or planning to, have bought the instructions or planning to buy the instructions, bought the instructions, planning to buy the pieces. Yeah, so I bought it from Lego. Don't be afraid to buy from Lego too, because they have most of the parts that you need, because it's pretty simple. There's not too many crazy pieces. But it's going to be expensive. It's going to be time consuming. It is going to be insufferable at points. You're going to want to give up, but I promise you don't, because it looks amazing. So hopefully this helps you. Anybody, have a good, rest of your day. I don't know when you'd be watching this, but for like the 5 people that did watch it to the end, thank you for watching. To the 5 to 10 people who ended up watching any of this video, thank you. See you later. This is Luke's building room workshop that. Have a good one. Bye-bye.